Let me know if this sounds familiar. You got into ministry because you're passionate about the work that you want to do. You feel called to do it. It's something you're excited about. You want to make a difference. But with your job came all of these tasks that you've never done before and you're not sure how to do. This is taking care of the building, the grounds, handling all the maintenance, and the building emergencies that pop up unexpectedly. And you're just not really sure what you're supposed to be doing, how to have a better plan for it, and it's constantly stealing time away from the work that you really want to be doing. If you can relate to that, you're not alone. It's something we've heard from a lot of churches, and in fact, it's something that happens across all industries, not just churches. Buildings constantly demand attention. So if you really want to learn how to get control of the maintenance in your building so you can start shifting some of your time and attention back to the ministry work that you have a heart and passion to do, hopefully this will help. I'm Stephanie from Foundational Facility Management Consulting. My husband Dustin is a certified facility manager. He has decades of experience in facility management across all different kinds of industries: churches, daycares, nonprofits, and government level buildings. He knows the ins and outs, the technical jargon, everything you need to know about facility management, pretty much. He's your guy. I don't. I'm on this process with him in this building more because of the heart I have for helping churches. So we kind of joined together to try and bring the information he has and make it more accessible for churches to get the help they need, even if they can't hire maybe a full-time facility manager. So if you're trying to learn about facility management or what your next step should be, and you feel a little lost and your eyes glaze over when you start to hear all the technical jargon thrown around, hopefully this video is going to be helpful for you. So I'm going to try and keep it as simple as can be because that's what I know on it. So we're going to talk about what is a facility condition assessment. So basically that's just kind of a fancy title to say data about your building. A facility condition assessment, or you may hear it referred to as an FCA, is just data. It's telling you what's in your building, what assets, which is like your HVAC equipment, plumbing equipment, electrical, maybe your flooring types, your roof, all of those kind of things. So it's telling you what you have and what condition it's in. And this information is just incredibly valuable, and it's information that a lot of businesses and a lot of churches don't have. So without it, it makes decision making a little bit harder and not data driven. So I like to use a budget analogy when I think about an FCA. So a lot of us have heard about, budgeting. It's important to have a budget, and when you create a budget, you need to know what you have coming in and what you have going out. When you have that information, you can start to make bigger plans. So for example, say you want to go on a vacation. If you don't know what your budget looks like, what's coming in, what's going out, you don't know if you can really afford to take that vacation or not. Same thing, let's put it to like a church example now. So you want to be able to add on to your building. Well, if you don't know how much your current building is costing you and what it's going to continue costing you in the upcoming years, it's really hard to make that decision about, can we afford to do this, or is this the best way to use our budget right now for our building? When you have the information from an FCA, it helps you make that decision a little easier because you can see some of the numbers and have a better kind of big picture view of what your facilities are actually costing you. So what actually happens when a company comes out to do an FCA at your church? When we come out to do an FCA, we're just going to walk through your building. We're looking at the condition of all the different things in your room. So the building envelope, or like your walls, your roofs, the floor. We're also going to look at all of those assets that I mentioned earlier. So HVAC equipment, water heaters, electrical boxes. There's just so many kinds of assets that might be in your building. And it may seem like things that you would know are in your building, and you probably do, but we're going to document all the details about them. So the make, the model, the serial number, the manufacturer date on it, which is really important to know, because when you know when the item was either manufactured or installed, you can start to estimate how long you have left before you're going to need to replace that item. So when we have that information, we're also determining the life cycle of that item. So the life cycle is just a fancy way of saying how long you can expect that piece of equipment to last you. So maybe it's 15 to 20 years. So if your item is already 10 years in, you may get another 5 years out of it, for example. And those are just averages. But we're going to start to document these things about your entire building. So before coming into your building, it's really helpful for us to get any information we can from you about your building so we know what we're walking into. Some churches have a lot of this information on hand. Some don't have much, and that's okay. We take whatever we can get. So if you have maintenance records on your different equipment, if you know the equipment you have, the serial numbers, any of that information, when we take that in ahead of time, it just helps prepare us for what we're going to see. But we're still going to look through your building thoroughly to see if anything was missed, to verify the information we were given, and then also to look at the actual condition of what that asset or piece of equipment is in at the moment. So why does this information even matter? There are quite a few reasons why the data that you get in an FCA is important for your church. So when you know what equipment you have in your building and the details about it, you start to know more what regular maintenance these items need so they can continue to work at their best for as long as possible. And everybody wants to have equipment last as long as possible so you get your money's worth out of it. So for example, if you're driving a car, you need to get the oil changed regularly. You're not going to drive 100,000 miles without doing any maintenance on your car, or most people aren't going to. But it may be common for people to overlook some of the maintenance that needs to be done to their HVAC equipment, which shortens the lifespan of it, then making you have to spend money that you might not have had to had you just maintained it regularly up front. So when you have the data from an FCA, it helps you start to see that maintenance that needs to be done on those items, and it helps you move from reactive maintenance, which is just responding to emergencies all the time, to proactive or preventive maintenance. So you have a list of regular tasks that you're doing to upkeep the equipment in your building. So if you're tired of being in the something breaks and we fix it kind of mode, this data is going to be helpful in getting you out of that cycle. Another reason why this is helpful is when you catch things when they're small problems, it can be a lot more affordable than waiting until it's a big problem. So maybe when we're walking through your building, we catch a small leak that's happening and you're able to address it before it leads to major water damage, which is a lot more costly. Outside of the maintenance itself, the data in the FCA is going to help you with budget planning more effectively. Sometimes it's hard to know how much do we need to estimate for maintenance and repair or replacement of items in the coming years. That's especially hard if you don't have the data about the condition that your equipment is currently in. So when we come in and we collect all the information on your building, we get condition ratings for it. When we give you that report back, it's going to include the remaining life cycle on each of your items. So you may know this air handler is expected to go 2 more years, which means you can start to see that you're gonna have that expense coming up and you can begin to plan for it accordingly. If you see that a lot of your items are older, you know that it's probably likely you're gonna have more repair costs as it begins nearing the end of its life cycle. That information, being able to see remaining life cycles on all this equipment, is just going to help you plan as you move forward. In addition to just seeing how much life is left on it, we're also going to provide you with estimated replacement costs for those items. We take inflation. We have a calculation to include inflation in it to help give you, a good estimate of what you can expect to spend based on how many years you have left. So here's an estimate of what this air condenser is going to cost in 8 years. And you'll see a breakdown of this over a 10-year period in each year. What's the expected maintenance and repair that you can expect on all of these things total, and then separately for each item, what's the replacement cost and what year can we expect that to hit in. Of course, sometimes things break earlier, sometimes things go years past when they're expected, but on average, this is just going to give you a good idea to go off of. Lastly, the information in the FCA is going to help with data-driven decision making in the church. There can be in churches a lot of people involved in making the decisions on how to spend the budget. Elders may have a different opinion than the head pastor or the children's minister or the youth pastor on where the money needs to go, what needs to be updated, what needs to be repaired. And that can lead to some tension sometimes between different groups because everybody has kind of a priority that is more important to them, which makes sense. We're all called to different parts of ministry. However, when you bring in a third-party company to do an FCA, it just brings in a neutral voice. We are just providing you with the information. We're not trying to sway people to one side or another. We're just giving you the data so your team can look at it together and see what the best use of your building budget is and what needs your attention. Okay, so what's included when you get your FCA report at the end? This is gonna differ based on what company you're working with. So typically when we give an FCA report, what we're including is a complete asset inventory. So this is going to include, again, on all of your facility equipment, the make, model, serial number, install year if you have that, or we'll get the manufacture date off the equipment. We're also going to include that life cycle, like what the remaining life cycle is for each item, and then we're going to give it a condition rating. So we have a whole rating system that we use based on what it looks like, what it sounds like, how old it is, to kind of help you see like, this is in great condition, this is nearing its end. We're also going to include that estimated replacement cost for your items and a 10-year budget forecast. That's going to include maintenance, repair, utilities, and replacement of items, broken down by year for 10 years. And then we're also going to give you a prioritized list of recommendations of repairs that need to be made. So this is going to be prioritized as safety issues first. So you'll be able to see, here's a whole list of things that we notice need to be done for safety and maintenance in your building. And then we're going to put it in a list for you, prioritized, so you can see these are the important things that need to be addressed soon, and then here's things that will need to be addressed, but maybe you don't need to jump at it right this minute. And then along with that, we'll give you other recommendations that we have based on your building and based on the goals that you have for your building. We love to hear kind of what your goals are, what direction your church is going in, so we can help see what the data, how it fits, and maybe what some next steps are that you can take. Everything's going to be put together in a digital report. It includes a folder of all the images that we take from your building and your equipment, so it's easy to share with elders, your staff, with insurance companies. Sometimes it's helpful to have this information to provide for your insurance companies. They like to see this, and it shows that your church is being proactive in handling the care of the building. So I know that's kind of a lot of information. Hopefully it was broken down simple and not too overwhelming. But remember, if you feel overwhelmed by the maintenance of your building, you're not alone. That happens across all industries. But there is help out there, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have, whether it's about a service we can provide or just general questions. We host a once-a-month free call for churches. Dustin shares on a different facility management topic each month, and then we answer your questions. So there's a link in the description. Feel free to jump on and join us for one of those calls, or you can send us any questions that you have. Thank you.